Good morning and welcome to Sports Central, brought to you live and exclusive on Spectrum Television, all the way from the beautiful hills of Ipiakuren in Goldstone State, Kwaibu. My name is Mfono Bongitina. Quite excited, new week, a fresh perspective to look at in the world of sport. We've got about four champions, make that four, in both the ATP category and the WTA category over the weekend. Felix Auger-Aliassime talking about the lady who defeated, Katie Bolter as well, winning a trophy for herself in the Australia Open. And we'll talk about these and many more when the show kicks out fully. We also go to football, where we have lots of actions over the weekend, where Liverpool and Manchester City played an all-classic game where we had to see Manchester City getting back into the title race, 6 points behind Arsenal once again. It's beginning to look like it's going to be a title race that goes down the wire. In the Spanish La Liga, we had Real Madrid as well getting a victory in the absence of Jude Bellingham and Vinicius Jr. to keep pressure on league leaders Barcelona. We'll talk about all of this in full when the show kicks out fully. Remember, you can follow us on all social media handles. Go to Facebook, go to X, following on Twitter, go to TikTok as well, and hit the follow button on Spectrum TV Live, and we can connect on an even closer level. We'll take that quick breath now, and when we're back, we'll bring you the trending stories in the world of sports. Thanks for staying tuned. We'll start with table tennis, when Nigeria's table tennis star Quadri Aruna booked his place in the quarterfinals of the ITTF Africa Cup Championship in Benghazi, Libya, after a commanding victory in the men's singles round of 16 on Sunday. Aruna, who's the tournament's top-ranked Nigerian and a former ITTF World Top 10 player, brushed aside Libya's Alajibi Habib with a ruthless 4-love win. He dominated the contest from the opening rally, taking the match in straight sets 11-3, 11-4, 11-3, and 11-1. The emphatic performance underlined Aruna's experience and pedigree on the continental stage, keeping him firmly in contention for the Africa Cup title as the competition enters its decisive phase. Elsewhere in the round of 16, Nigeria's Olajide Omotayo exited the tournament following a 4-love defeat to Algeria's Stephanie Owache. Owache controlled the tempo of the match, claiming victory with scores of 11-6, 11-2, 11-4, and 11-8, despite Omotayo offering strong resistance in the fourth game. In other men's singles results, Egypt's Omar Assa advanced comfortably after defeating Morocco's Banchat Marios 4-love, while Tunisia's Wassim Assid sealed a quarterfinal spot with a 4-2 win over Bene Salifu Abdelkader. Now on to tennis proper, where Felix Auger-Aliassime is back to raising the roof as the top seed downed home favorite Adrien Manarino 6-3, 7-6 on Sunday afternoon to successfully defend his crown at the Open Occitanie in Montpellier. Auger-Aliassime did not face a break point in a 96-minute win to secure his 9th tour-level title and his 8th on indoor hard court. After defeating Stan Wawrinka, Orthophils, Tito Andruget, and Manarino to go back-to-back in Montpellier, Auger-Aliassime moved clear of Milos Raonic to set a new record for the most tour titles by a Canadian in the Open era. Auger-Aliassime has now won 89 tour-level matches this decade, the most of any player, having retired from his first round match at the Australian Open due to cramp. He will now head in the ABN AMRO Open in Rotterdam full of confidence following his Montpellier bounce back. Before he steps on court in the Netherlands, he would today rise 2 spots to number 6 in the ATP rankings. Now, still in tennis, Emma Raducanu's hopes of her first title since her US Open triumph in 2021 ended in disappointment as she was trounced by Romanian Sorana Sister in the Transylvania Open final. The British number 1, who was the top seed, was second best throughout the match as the 35-year-old sister surged to a 6-love, 6-2 victory in front of her home crowd. Raducanu, who's 23, was on court for nearly 3 hours in her semi-final win over Alexandra Olinkova on Friday, but against third-seed sister, she lasted just an hour and 3 minutes. She managed to level the second set at 2-2 after having her blood pressure taken. However, the mini revival was not enough to stop Sister claiming her 4th WTA Tour title of a 20-year career in emphatic fashion. She's next scheduled to play the opening WTA 1000 tournament of the season in Qatar, which starts on Sunday and has been drawn against Colombia's Camila Osorio in the first round. Now to golf, where Patrick Reed won his second DP World title in 3 tournaments with victory in the Qatar Masters. The American beat Scotland's Callum Hill by 2 strokes with a score of 16 under overall, having led from the first round in Doha. The 35-year-old, who recently left LIV Golf to make a return to the PGA Tour, won the Dubai Desert Classic 2 weeks ago and finished tied second after a 3-way playoff also involving Hill at last week's Bahrain Championship. Last month, Reed became the second high-profile American to leave LIV and return to the PGA Tour after Brooks Koepka. American Koepka is able to play on the PGA Tour straight away after it recently introduced a new returning member program. It allows members who have been away from the PGA Tour for at least 2 years and have won the Players' Championship or a major between 2022 and 2025 to play again on the series, with the avenue closing on the 2nd of February. However, Reed does not meet that criteria and results dictate he will not be eligible to play on the PGA Tour again until August, a year after his last LIV appearance. Now into football, where yesterday Erling Haaland kept Manchester City in the title race with an added time penalty as Pep Guardiola's side came from behind to win 2-1 in a chaotic finish. After drawing 3 blanks, the Norway international scored only his second Premier League goal since Christmas and his first at Anfield to give the visitors their first win in front of a crowd here since 2003. The City striker was then involved in a bizarre finish as he and Dominik Szoboszlai chased Ryan Cherki's shot from inside his own half, with goalkeeper Alisson Becker upfield searching for an equalizer. Szoboszlai pulled Haaland, who then talked back the Hungarian captain as the ball trickled over the line. After a VAR check, referee Craig Pawson decided Haaland had been denied a goal-scoring opportunity, so ruled out the goal and awarded a free kick 30 yards out and sent off Dominik Szoboszlai. For Liverpool, it was a familiar story of failing to hold on to a lead, which they only acquired in the 74th minute courtesy of another 30-yard Szoboszlai special. That concludes the stories we have for you in Sport Wrap-Up this morning. We'll take just a quick break, and when we're back, Sports Central in full. Stick around.
An excellent morning to return to talk about sports developments all across the globe. Good morning and welcome to Sports Central. I brought to you courtesy of Spectrum Television. I am Utabed David, returning on the back of the weekend that filled with numerous sports in action from the world of tennis, where we had emerging champions across different top-level competitions, from the WTA scene to the ATP. We'll also look at conversations surrounding Nigeria representatives in the different categories of sports. You want to talk about tennis, where Aruna Quadri is actually making headlines to other sports at this particular morning. We'll also be looking at the Nigeria Premier Football League. There were matches over the course of the weekend. How about Rivers United, the sole representative of Nigeria on the continent of Africa, with that defeat at the Nest of Champions yesterday? They have been confirmed to be part of the teams that will be eliminating the group stage of the CAF Champions League. Really sad time for Nigerian football and those that are following the Rivers United Football Club. We'll talk about all of these, as well as the Premier League games, the Italian Serie and others that happened over the course of the weekend. Well, I'll be doing this with Fonitina. You saw him on your screens, and we'll dissect all of these stories making rounds in the world of sports. Well, Fon, good morning to you and happy new week.
Excited to be back here. I'm quite disappointed. I'm very sad. Rivers United, just like you mentioned, we expected them to do quite well this season. They're still on top of the league in the Nigerian League, which means they'll go to the competition again next year. And look at what they're doing right now. I think they'll go down as one. I don't think there's any Nigerian team that's gone to the CAF Champions League group stage without winning a game. And they've got just one game left, and that's going to be against defending champ, against RS Pekin rather. And when you look at that, it might just end up in a catastrophic way for this side. So I'm very disappointed with Finidi George and the lads.
About 6 games played with just 1 draw. That's, of course, to a large extent disappointing for a top side like Rivers United. Let's quickly talk about the non-football stories. We head straight to football shortly afterwards. Starting off with the man Aruna Quadri, of course, in the ongoing ITTF, Africa Cup Championship. Nigeria's top talent, and happens to be the current number 2 on the continent of Africa. That was due to the recent rankings that was released by ITTF. Aruna Quadri booked his place in the quarterfinals of the ITTF Africa Cup Championship in Benghazi after a commanding victory in the men's singles round of 16. He dominated the contest against Libya's Alajabi Habib with a ruthless 4-set win, and that means it was quite dominating for the man. But also, we also had Nigeria's Olajido Martayo exiting the tournament following a 4-0 defeat to Algeria's Stephanie Oiche in this particular game. Well, the ITTF Championship continues in Benghazi, and of course, much to the delight of many, quarterfinal matches are actually set to follow after this particular round of action we saw over the course of the weekend. Now, with the man Aruna Quadri qualifying to the next phase of a competition, he happens to be the only Nigerian representative at the quarterfinal stage of this particular competition. Well, fun. The quarterfinal phase, of course, is marked with and is also dominated by so many North African teams. We want to talk about Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, and the rest of them. They are dominated by other, of course, North African teams. And many will be asking questions: where exactly are we seeing the Aruna Quadri? Where will he finish in this competition? Will he be able to, of course, hold his gun to the finals of it? Will it be the quarterfinal stage that it will end? But a whole lot of questions right here, because over time, since last year, whenever we have Nigerian representative in the tennis scene go to international tournament, most times we usually struggle to even make it to the semi-finals. And in most cases, it is always Aruna Quadri making it to the quarters or semis. Are we beginning to see the beginning of an end for the man Aruna Quadri, who looks to be the only sole hope of Nigeria in table tennis on the international stage?
First of all, I'm very happy for Aruna Quadri reaching the stage of the competition. In recent times, he's been always crashing out of the early stages, but he's finally made it to the quarterfinals in the ITTF African Cup, and I'm very excited because not just doing it, maybe suffering to do it, he did it in strong fashion, fall off a victory over his opponent and do 11-3, 11-2 scoreline. So when you look at it, it means the man is poised to, give a very, very good account of himself. You've talked about the fact that you've already answered Aruna Quadri. I think it's always been that way from time immemorial, ever since Aruna Quadri broke onto the scene. And Nigeria is not really a table tennis nation, so lots of Nigerians are not really into table tennis as a sport. So we've got Aruna Kod. That's why he's been one of the only names over 20 years now, if I'm not mistaken. When Segun Teorola was the only name at the point, Aruna Quadri burst onto the scene, and we started seeing Aruna Quadri all through till now. So I'm not surprised Aruna Quadri is still here. Maybe after he retires, we might stay like 5-10 years before we have another superstar like him. It's just what it is at the moment. I don't think it's anyone has to to take the blame for this particular one. It's not just about Nigeria not being a table tennis nation. So we don't really have lots of young stars, looking at table tennis and saying I can make a living out of this. So, but for this particular competition, I'm expecting Aruna Quadri to go all the way, reach the finals. Omar Stars also doing what is his own part of it. So I'm expecting both of them to meet in the finals. Who knows? Can get to defeat Omar Assad at the final.
The only West African representative at the quarterfinal stage. All the best is what we're looking at for the man Aruna Quadri, the biggest name when it has to do with table tennis in Nigeria. But let's quickly look at other conversations. The Davis Cup, which is up and running already in Uzbekistan, have actually had Nigerian representative also being part of this competition. It is a long tennis competition. It is tagged the Davis Cup. Nigeria secured promotion to the Davis Cup World Group 2, as it is called, after a hard-fought victory over Uzbekistan in the World Group 2 promotion playoffs. A result that has drawn commendation from different parts of sporting, of course, development right here in the nation. One of such, leading delegation of commendation is the National Sports Commission. They have congratulated the boys for doing better, but we're looking forward to what happens now. Nigeria's path to promotion is built on a strong showing across both days of the tie. They had a game on Saturday where, of course, they ended in a 1-1 draw. And, of course, the second game, they were able to, of course, get quite a victory in that particular one. So, much to the delight of many are looking forward to how far can they go in the Davis Cup. But we'll dwell much on that this morning. We'll be heading straight now to the world of tennis and start off the conversation from the competition we saw in Montpellier. It has to do with Felix Auger-Aliassime, but the man successfully defended his Montpellier crown, setting a Canadian title record for himself. Well, he was a top seed in this competition. He downed home favorite Adrian Manarino 6-3, 7-6 yesterday afternoon to successfully defend his crown at the Open Occitanie in Montpellier. But the man did not face a break point in the game that spanned about 96 minutes to secure that win. And this, as a matter of fact, was his 9th tour level title and his 8th on indoor hard courts event. Fun. The man, we usually call a youngster, now doing quite well. And of course, back-to-back titles in Montpellier for the man, Felix Auger-Aliassime.
Well, definitely. I think he's doing quite well for himself. After crashing out of the UFC Open with that injury, in the first round, it's always going to be a difficult, comeback for him. But he did it on the, every turbulence he could have faced, and got all the way to win it. Now he's up to number 6 in the ATP ranking. Shows you that the man is ready to continue from where he left off last season. He's already reached 89, indoor hard court wins, and that's the highest for any Canadian in history. And the man still got yards of years to compete as a tennis player. So I'm expecting him to continue to shatter those records, create new ones, and even rest the bar for Canadian tennis superstars. For Auger-Aliassime, congratulations to him winning that particular championship. Adrian Manarino, home favorite, and had the crowd, at his back, backing him to win that particular one. But Auger-Aliassime was able to dictate and get the result. Let's see what happens. He moves into the Rotterdam Open. Yeah. We're not going to be having the likes of Alcaraz. We're not having Alexander. Alexander Zverev happens to be the top name there, so we're hoping to see. No, Zverev is not going there, so it's going to be Auger-Aliassime and the likes of Otto Fields and all of that. So maybe another competition for Auger-Aliassime to extend his dominance over the course of the season.
Well, we're looking forward to what happens for Felix Auger-Aliassime. It will be a conversation of consistency for the man. Not all winning this particular early stages competition that happens to be 250 tour level events, some 500. But what happens in a 1000 Masters event and even in Grand Slam tournament? A big question for the man to answer with actions in the coming months. But away from that now, it was the Davis Cup once again where world number 457 Suresh propels India past Netherlands in Davis Cup qualifier subset. It is a qualifier stage, so we won't dwell much on that until we start having the groupings and the tournaments proper. We'll talk more about that. Well, ahead of a major competition The man, of course, Alex Diminio is leading in Rotterdam, while Fonseca, we have returned to the Buenos Aires. So it's basically players, choosing competitions they think they can favorably compete in ahead of a major 1000 Masters event. But let's move away now to the Abu Dhabi Open, where we had a qualifier winning, yes, a first title of our career in Abu Dhabi. It was a Czech qualifier. Talk about Lady Belek claiming her first title in Abu Dhabi. She did that in fine fashion, as a matter of fact, just over the course of the weekend, battling her way through the qualifiers. A 20-year-old left-hander recorded a seventh victory, as a matter of fact, in this particular competition. It was against the world number 11. Well, after defeating Roland Garros champion Thorsen in the semi-finals, the lady Belek rather, had already had a week to remember before the final of the 500 tour level event. At 4-3 in the first set, Alexandrova called for a medical timeout, and many would say maybe that was one of the reasons why Ekaterina Alexandrova, of course, was beaten in this particular game. But when you have a qualifier go as big as getting the better of a top-seeded player who happens to be in the top 11 of the WTA rankings, he sets several questions and eyes, particularly in the qualifier, because many would want to see a level of progress from here. Will it just be a case of a one-off flash in the pan for her? Will it be consistency? But then the qualifier, of course, getting her first title in Abu Dhabi. Is this another emergence of a young star that many are looking forward to see this year?
Well, I think definitely when you look at Belek and her run through to the Abu Dhabi card title, you would see that she's defeated top names, Clara Thorsen, and can name all of them. And then in the final, she's facing the world number 11. She's not even ranked inside the world top 50 yet. So when you look at it, it shows that she's got what it takes to compete with the best of the best. And I'm very excited to see where the future leads for her, because we've seen people like her come through, Mira Andreeva at the point, Alexandra Iela. We've seen a lot of them, Victoria Mbuko as well, come through as qualifiers, and now they are one of the most sought after names in the world of tennis. So I'm expecting Belek to follow in that particular part, and she has to continue to raise the momentum, because now she's announced her name to the rest of the world. More superstars will start to take her serious. When you head into a competition now, you're no longer just a teenager. You're no longer just an outsider. You're someone who people might have done their research on, because you've won the title now. This is her first title. And lots of superstars will begin to pay more attention and maybe start to give her the respect she deserves. So I'm excited to see where it holds for. Just like you mentioned, we have to see more, momentum heading to WTA 500 event, WTA 1000 event, even the Grand Slam. So let's see what it holds for her.
Well, of course, Emma Raducanu is the next conversation, as she was well beaten. She wasn't just beaten. Over the course of the weekend, she was well beaten in the Transylvania Open final. The hopes of a first title since the US Open title she won back in 2021 was dashed, as she was trounced by Romania Sorana Christie in the Transylvania Open. Well, of course, the British number one, who was the top seed, was second best throughout the finals game, as 35-year-old Sorana Christie surged to a 6-love, 6-2 victory in front. Questions already. Was the 2021 US Open final for Emma Raducanu a flash in the pan? Because since then, she hasn't been able to win either of a 250 tour level events, either of 500 or either of 1000. Yes, many would say attribute some of the problems for her due to injuries, but in some situations where she makes it to finals of some tour level events, she has been beaten since 2021.
Well, I would say for Emma Raducanu is quite sad. It's very sad. Well, then I would understand in a semi-final match she played over 3 hours, and at the end of it, she said she felt that she might never be able to make it to the finals. Well, she's happy that she made it to the finals after all. She called for a medical timeout twice in this particular game to show she was not at the top level. She's not at the top level of fitness she wanted to be. So I'm saying we're not just going to make an excuse for her, but I think it's a step in the right direction for her. Before now, she's not played 4 consecutive matches. This is the first time she's doing that since 2021. So it shows that she's getting somewhere. She's gradually getting to maybe that close to that form of 2021 Emma Raducanu we used to know. But it's going to be a long way for her. It's going to be step by step. But just like I always say, she's got time. 24 years of age. 2 years from now, she'll probably be in her peak. She'll be in that era where you expect her to be comfortable in competition. I'm excited to see her starting to pick this competition, because imagine her competing in a competition where you have the likes of Jessica Pejula and the rest of them. She might be beaten earlier on, but now she competed here where she had superstars where she could compete favorably against. I'm just excited. I hope she gets to pick more competitions like this because it would help her gain that momentum. It's not just about playing competition where you have top names. You also have to, you know, help your confidence, because when you constantly get beaten, it affects you as a player. Your psychological nature start to maybe start feeling I'm not good enough, and that's it. But for Emma Raducanu, I just hope for the best, and she should you know, be in that position where she can finally put those injury problems behind her, because that's what it keeps coming up time and time again. She's supposed to play in the WTA 1000 event in Doha very soon, but I don't know if she's going to play there because of the injury. Let's see what happens for her.
Well, of course, the lady's still looking forward to consistency, and consistency is a watchword for Lady Emma Raducanu. But a fellow British, you know, player, I talk about Katie Bolter, was able to do something very handy over the course of the weekend. Yeah, she won a competition in the Ostrava Open. Yeah, her fourth WTA title with the Ostrava Open. We not so often we're going to talk about British contingents winning titles, but Lady Katie Bolter somehow is in the mix, getting a 250 tall level title right here.
Yeah, good for her. Good for her, because we're talking about the British contingent not doing so well, especially in the women's category. But in the men's category, we have the likes of Jack Draper doing well. So I'm expecting to see more, especially from the likes of Katie Bolter. She's more of a veteran when you compare her with Emma Raducanu. So she should be able to be in that era where she can grind up results and all of that. The Australia Open, not a really big competition, so it's not coming as a surprise to many that she won it. Let's see how she's able to hold her own when she gets to compete with the likes of the world top 10s, the top 20s of this world. Let's see what it holds for her in the future.
Well, a lot of competitions are up and running already, and of course we're talking about the Qatar Open, where, yes, at the first few rounds of these competitions, some players already engaging and looking forward to some level of progress in the respective matches. The likes of Alicia Pax completes a short comeback versus Snyder. We also saw Verona Vonera earning a statement singles win against Peyton Stearns. Magdalena Frech served 3 match points to upset Ludmila Samsonova. That's a name to look forward to. Well, Lady Victoria Mboko takes care of business, defeating, of course, the Lady Puskova in Doha Derby. Well, fun. Just before we move away and talk about the world of football, it looks like Victoria Mboko is another huge name that we're looking forward to look at, especially in the tall level competition. Last year, she was able to win the Canadian Open and, of course, go to some tall level events, as a matter of fact. But this year, it looks like it will be the first long season for the Lady Victoria Mboko right here. And many looking forward to consistency. Heartbreaks will come, temporary setbacks will come, but then the fortitude to, of course, get back to her feet and do something very handy will be quite a big statement right here. Can she overcome all of these challenges that she will face, particularly this year?
Well, I think she's got what it takes to do that. Victoria Mboko, last season, just like you mentioned, was her breakout year, and she had quite a good year, you know, having to win the Canadian Open towards the ending stages of the year. Now she's got more eyes on her, she's got more expectations on her shoulders. People are expecting her not just to play as a young star, but to show some level of consistency, show some level of dominance, and she's already showing that. She's done quite well in the early competitions of the year, but now the Qatar Open, now it's going to be a tall tax for her. There are a lot of top names in this particular one. She got the victory in the first match, but then there's still other competitions. We've got Amanda Anisimova in this competition. We've got lots of top names, so it's going to be if she can hold her own, because I expect Victoria Mboko, she's learned a lot. She's already had one season in the WTA Tour. Now let's see if her second season can yield more results than what we saw in the first one.
Well, of course, other players also were in action. Muchova earning routine straight win to move through to Doha's second round, while the 2024 semi-finalist Pliskova back into Doha's second round after 60 minutes win in our game. But of course, at the moment, we're still talking about NBA games. NBA games didn't take place in the early hours of this month, but we had a few yesterday. Well, according to reports, the Washington Wizards GM expect Anthony Davis to make return this particular season. Well, the man Anthony Davis has been in the news as at last week Friday. We talked about him. That is in the news for expected move to another franchise. We also hear that the Rockets' Alperen Sengun replaces Shai Jesus Alexander in All-Star game. We'll talk more about, of course, the NBA when we return later tomorrow. The Bucks have also reached a deal with former Nets guard Cam Thomas. Is, of course, a very big conversation right here, while two-time champion Damian Lillard headlines NBA's three-point contest. We'll talk more about the NBA tomorrow when we return. But let's hit the breaks right here when we return. Football stories will be part of our conversation with a whole lot set to be looked upon. Do stay with us. Welcome back. It is still Planets Sports Central. I beg for pardon, on the Frequency Spectrum Television. Well, let's quickly head straight now to the world of football. Starting off the conversation with, the Nigeria Premier Football League, as we had matches across different centers over the course of the weekend. Well, the likes of Plateau United were able to get the better of Kwara United 1-0 in that massive encounter. Ikorodu City FC defeated Niger Tornadoes 2-0, while Wadi Wolves played goalless draw with El Kanami Warriors. Apia Warriors played a goalless draw with Enugu Rangers, while Nasarawa United played a 1-1 draw with Bayelsa United. Wiki Tourists, well, it was a chaotic game. It was as a 70-something minutes of that game yesterday when Katsina United equalized against Wiki Tourists. We also had some encroachment on the pitch and hooliganism as well, and it also led to the general manager of the home team having scares on his head due to the fact that there was some moment where the referee was threatened on the pitch of play, and the second referee had to be, the center referee in that game. It was quite, of course, something we've usually talked about on the show, hooliganism in football, and it happened in the game involving Wiki Tourists and Katsina United. It ended 3-3 at the time where the game ended abruptly, but the game was played in the early hours of this morning around 8 a.m. Nigerian time, and the scoreline was settled at 4-4, with both sides sharing the spoils this particular morning. Kun Khalifa FC, after initially withdrawing from the MPFL, came back and they were able to get the Battle Shooting Stars 2-0 to, of course, still keep their hopes alive in terms of trying to escape relegation this particular season. Unfortunately, all of these, finally now, Ikorodu City are top with 41 points. I know they've played about 4 matches more than Rivers United, who at the moment are engaged on the continent of Africa. But a good weekend of football, particularly for the Oga Boys, and I'm talking about Ikorodu City FC.
Definitely, I think since last season, they've really proven that they are one of the best teams in the MPFL. At the point people were looking at them as maybe one-season wonders. I remember their coach then, Nuruddin, came in, and then he moved to another club side, talking about Shooting Stars, and now Ikorodu City is still doing well even without the man. So it shows that there's something there which is helping the side. I'm very excited to see them do well because I like when I see new faces, at the top of the MP of Hussein. It shows that we're beginning to have other teams step up to the party. So Ikorodu City now on top. I just hope they can continue to stay there for long, but it might not be so because Rivers United have got about 3 outstanding games. So if they get to win or even win one of them, they might just get back on top. So it's going to be a long ride for Ikorodu City, but I expect them to do better this season.
Expecting them to do better this season is a big conversation. Away from that to the continent where Rivers United suffered a 4-1 defeat. Yes. At the Nest of Champions in their penultimate CAF Champions League, a group stage game against Pyramids FC in Uyo yesterday. The likes of Stephen Mayo gave Rivers United quite an early lead in the 33rd minute. But it didn't stand because Finidi George's side, despite creating more chances ahead of their opponent, failed to double the advantage and allowed Pyramids FC to take control of that game, equalized to restore parity back to the team, and of course led at some point. And that led to more goals scored by the North African Egyptian Giants. And now, Rivers United, despite having one more game to play before the end, have been eliminated from the CAF Champions League. About 6 or 7 matches played and just 1 point. The side who have been top of the MPFL table for the large part of the season, but so poor and terrible on the continent of Africa. Many would ask the question, what exactly happened to Rivers United in the continent?
I think it's just the same thing we've seen with Nigerian side. Over the years, we've lost that dominance in Africa. We're no longer the top team to beat. We're no longer the best teams in the continent. So it shows that Rivers United are not there yet. Finidi George at the end of the match, was it before the match or at the end at the presser, he made some statement. He said Nigeria is not ready yet. Nigerian teams are not ready to dominate in continental football. If the coach can say that, then you would want to agree with him because he's inside, he's seeing what has happened. Probably he's seen the quality that comes with these other teams, and then he sees the quality of players at his own disposal. When you put them like for like, no matter what you do, you cannot expect the likes of maybe you put together players like Franco Yega, no disrespect to them, you put together players like Demarai Grad, expect them to be the team that has Vinicius Junior and Kylian Mbappe. Quality would always trounce the other whatever time it be. So I think for Finidi George, he's understood that we no longer have quality in the Nigerian league. Just recently, Anas Yusuf has gone to Libya. That's one of the best players in the Nigerian football league. He's left mid-season. So when you look at it that way, it will continue to happen time and time again. Now, Nasarawa United might just falter during the rest of the season. It shows you that we will continue to lose our best players. Anytime any player comes good in the Nigerian league, we lose them to another league. That's just it. For me, we have a long way to go to restore our status as one of the best sides in Africa.
A long way to go to restore our status as one of the best in Africa in recent times. We have been far from the best. Even on the continent, the latest ratings of, club sides, or the leagues rather, the latest ratings of leagues across major countries in Africa have found the Nigeria Premier Football League outside the top 10. And that gets to show you the quality and what's lacking in the MPFL. They've got to do better, just like Fonap mentioned. But away from that, now straight to the Under-20 FIFA Women's World Cup qualifiers. Over the course of the weekend, the Falconets had a game they played. They were able to, of course, defeat their opponent, and I'm talking about the Senegalese Under-20 Women's National Team. 1-0. It ended. They were not just the only side that played. The likes of Kenya also got a slim advantage over Tanzania in their first leg of the Under-20 FIFA Women's Qualifier game. Cameroon produced an outstanding performance in the first leg of their FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup Qualifier just yesterday. They thrashed Botswana 5-0. Also, the likes of Uganda drew Zambia, while Guinea-Bissau and Malawi also drew to leave those ties finally balanced ahead of the return leg of this particular competition. So the return leg is scheduled for later this weekend, and we're looking forward to see what the Falconets will be able to do against their Senegalese opponents. Well, let's now move straight to Europe and look at the English Premier League conversation, starting off with games that happened on Saturday, where Manchester United played an early kickoff game against Tottenham Hotspur at Old Trafford. Prior to this game, we talked about the last several matches between Manchester United and Spurs. Manchester United have been unable to get victories until the game that happened on Saturday. A brilliant performance from Michael Carrick's boys handed aside a 2-0 victory. Goals from Brahim Buemo and Bruno Fernandes was enough to ensure that Manchester United still maintaining the top 4 in the English Premier League table. Well, finally, the gene of consecutive games without victory was broken, and it was under the tutelage of Michael Carrick. 4 victories in his first 4 games since being appointed.
I think Michael Carrick is definitely showing that the more we see Manchester United play under Michael Carrick, the more we see how bad it was under Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim succeeded in telling Manchester United fans that this team was not good enough. This team has the second most goals in the league this season, and you're saying they're not good enough. I think it just shows that Amorim should have been sacked earlier than he was. And Ruben Amorim, I think he's failed his audition. He's never going to make it as a big time coach. For me, that's what I think. But for Michael Carrick, I think he's showing that this team has got what it takes. Yes, there are still obvious loopholes in that team. Anytime Casemiro goes, obviously Manchester United drop the momentum a little bit. So it shows that they need another midfielder. That can be sorted out in the summer. But then let's just see what goes on for Manchester United. They've still got 13 more games to go. The top 4 race is very heated right now. Talking about Aston Villa, Manchester United, Chelsea, Liverpool, all in that top 4 race. So it's going to be very, very exciting towards the end of the season. Maybe if Arsenal and Manchester City don't give us a really good fight for the championship, we might just see that top 4 race giving us what we're supposed to expect at the end of it. But for Manchester United, good performance, players playing so well. Brian Mbeumo scoring against bulk of the top 6 sides this season. Tottenham, Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal. So it shows that the man is a big time player, and I'm expecting to see more of the same from these players in the coming days.
Arsenal, of course, won over the weekend as well. It was 9 points. That's because Manchester City didn't play on Saturday. But after City got the better of Liverpool, it has been reduced now to 6 points. So Arsenal still top of the Premier League table with 6 points lead after the 3-0 win over Sunderland. Martin Zubimendi, Victor Gyökeres having a brace, and that summed up Mikel Arteta's weekend and the Gunners fans as well. A delight for the North London side, as still, of course, reigning supreme at the top. And men are still saying it is Arsenal season.
Definitely. I think the most important thing, just like I said on Saturday on radio, I think this Arsenal side right now, you cannot beat them. Because at the beginning of the season, they had a few injuries, but now they've got their squad ready. Odegaard and Saka got injured before the last game, but they might be back in 2 games. Well, when you look at it now, Victor Gyökeres started scoring goals. He scored twice, on Saturday. It shows you that the man is back. Maybe the competition between Kai Havertz, Gabriel Jesus and him now is getting him to score more goals, because before these guys were fit, he was finding it very difficult. But now
he's had a brilliant 2026.
Exactly, coming off the bench as well.
Absolutely.
So the question is now, will he continue to sit on the bench, or would Arteta start trusting him more to start games? But I think I see Arsenal going. They're definitely going to win a trophy this season. If it's going to be the Premier League, I cannot judge, but I know they will win a trophy this season.
Winning a trophy will be a big conversation for Arsenal now, already through to the Carabao Cup finals, where they will eventually face Manchester City next month. And now we're talking about still top of the Premier League table with 6 points, a big conversation for the side right there. We also had Chelsea, of course, winning their opponents in Liam Rosinier's game as a Chelsea manager, maintaining 100% start to life in the English Premier League. The man Cole Palmer with that hat-trick right there was enough to get the better of Wolves, 3-1. It ended for the Chelsea side. But won't dwell much on that. Let's quickly look at the Liverpool game that happened yesterday against Manchester City. At the point where many thought Coach Arne Slot and his boys are back to top form, it didn't just happen. Dominic Szoboszlai scored a free kick in the second half of that game to give Liverpool just a temporary lead until Manchester City pecked them back and, of course, got the victory in the 90-plus minutes of action, where the man, talk about Erling Haaland, converted from the panel to sports. And Pep Guardiola's boys ended up getting 3 points. And this is the first time in over how many years, since the 1930s, that Manchester City have been able to get Liverpool back to back, and that's home and away in a single season. And it looks like Arne Slot and the boys, their problems continues.
Well, I think Arne Slot is riding his luck so far. This is because I think if he didn't win the season, the Premier League in his first season, probably would have been sacked by now, because I was not impressed with the performance. Not as if I was impressed with Manchester City, but I was not impressed with Liverpool the most, because they were at home in this particular game. The first half was completely Manchester City. Manchester City were all over them. I'm asking myself, Manchester City have been, they've shown that they're not good. They're not so good this season. When you see teams like Bodo and Glimt get results over Manchester City, and then you Liverpool defending champions, you're at Anfield, and then you play against Manchester City, and you're playing back-to-ball system. Even during the first half, I watched the commentary by the Sky Sport team, likes of Roy Keane, talking about what's his name now, Jamie Carragher. They were talking about that as well, because you cannot afford You are defending champions. Yes, you're not playing so well, but that should be a cause for pride for you. You should be able to go out there and show the other team that you deserve the respect. But they were just there for the taking in the first half. It was very unfortunate for City not to score a goal in the first half. And the second half, when they turned it up, you could see that they had that quality to hurt Manchester City on the counter. But then, let's drama it was for them. But I think both sides are just not ready this season. I don't see Manchester City catching up to Arsenal. Not with that performance. They don't have what it takes to do so. And for Liverpool, it's going to be a very, very tough top 4 race for them, because the other teams for me look very, very better compared to Liverpool. Chelsea doing so well, Manchester United, maybe Aston Villa beginning to drop form. But for Liverpool, I think it's going to be a tough season for them. The
top race for who finishes in the UEFA Champions League sports. Don't forget, we have 5 slots for England teams this particular season. And of course, whoever wins the Europa League final, if it is an English team, even without in the top 5 position of the Premier League table, they will still, qualify for the Champions League. So that means the English sides have got more slots in the UEFA Champions League, and even next season as well. Well, quickly, let's talk about the Spanish Liga, where Barcelona were in action yesterday. A resounding 3-0 victory for the Barca side. Lamine Yamal also scoring in that particular game to give Barca and still further tighten their grip in the Spanish Liga table. A good win for Hansi Flick, still 1 point separating both sides, because Real Madrid at the other end with 2-0 winners over their opponents. That's Valencia with D-Man Carreras and Kylian Mbappe scoring. And it looks like a keenly contested, league season for both, Spanish side, and a league season that may likely go down the wire.
I think Barcelona are doing quite well, but I fear for injuries, because we've seen injuries already to bulk of the players. We've seen Lewandowski out at the point. We've seen Rafinha has been out. This is the second time he's been out this season. Lamine Yamal could just get injured again. What happened? So I'm very worried for them. January came, they didn't sign any player, because I don't understand why teams are moving like this in 2026, because at the time,
maybe preparing more budgets now for the summer.
So you would rather sacrifice? You're on top of the league. You should do all it. Look at Manchester City. They're trying to push you out.
They were actually struggling financially before now.
Come on, I think Barcelona are out of that debt. I think they announced just before the start of the season that they are completely free of debt. They announced it, so I don't think that's a problem. I just feel it's the fact that what's his name now, the president of the side, talking about Joan Laporta, he's not really interested in getting any player at this point, which is, for me, it's a poor decision. You're challenging for the league, and you are just 1 point ahead of Real Madrid. A good team as well. Anything can happen, and you drop points. Okay. Those two play Real Madrid this season. So what if Real Madrid wins that game? That's already, an advantage to Real Madrid. So I think Barcelona needed to sign someone in January. Let's see if that's going to haunt them at the end of the season or not.
We're looking forward to that. In the Italian Serie A, Inter Milan increased their Serie A lead with that 5-0 demolition of Sassuolo yesterday, where Federico De Marco had a hat-trick of assists in that particular game. Blue Stars scored a hat-trick, and Harry Kane, a brace, also helped Bayern thumb Offenheim 5-1. The man Ousmane Dembele in the French Ligue 1 was also, of course, a star man of the day, as they thrashed Marseille in the French Ligue 1 game just yesterday as well. But with that, we'll draw the curtains on this morning edition of Sports Central. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. Thank you very much, and fun for returning.
A pleasure as always.
It is a fresh week of possibilities, so make the best out of it and be productive. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.